Welcome to CBR. The X-Men are coming to the MCU with the Avengers Doomsday casting announcement citing Ian McKellen. But how will Magneto fit into Secret Wars? Today, we'll find out after analyzing the character's evolution in comics and movies. Magneto is one of the most iconic Marvel villains who, believe it or not, has actually found redemption. He joined the X-Men after a long history of ambiguous morals and a complex friendship with Professor Charles Xavier, but we'll get there in a second. He has been known by different names throughout his comics history, mainly Max Eisenhardt, Eric Lehnsherr, and Magnus, but he is widely recognized as Magneto, the master of magnetism. His debut in Marvel Comics happened in 1963 in the first X-Men story ever as the main antagonist. The issue introduces not only the very concept of mutants to the Marvel Universe, but also the idea of an ongoing war between the X-Men and the evil mutants. Magneto is the evilest of all evil mutants, and one of the most powerful mutants altogether. His tragic backstory of oppression led to his dream of becoming the oppressor. As shown in classic X-Men number 19, 1987, Magneto believes mutants are a superior race, that they should dominate Earth over humans, and literally be renamed as Homo Superior. That clearly stems from being mistreated for being a mutant throughout his life. But his origin story revealed later how he also suffered anti-Semitism, which contributed to his rage. Max Eisenhardt was born and raised in Nuremberg to a middle-class Jewish family during the Nazi Germany period. There, he witnessed many instances where members of his family and his friends suffered anti-Semitism. He also fell in love with a Romani girl named Magda, who also felt the weight of Nazi persecution. Fascism in the country escalated to the point where a teenage Magneto was sent to the Nazi concentration camp in Auschwitz, Poland, as shown in X-Men Magneto Testament number 4, 2009. He was the only person in his family to survive the Jewish Holocaust. The only positive part of it all was that Max and Magda were reunited in Auschwitz, and she survived as well. The two of them escaped the concentration camp together and lived hidden in the mountains for several years. Although Max was born with superpowers, they did not actually kick in until later in his life. It was only when he and Magda were already married and had a daughter that a tragic event triggered his transformation into Magneto. He moved his family to the Soviet Union, where he got into trouble with the KGB, who indirectly caused the death of his daughter Anya. She was caught in a fire, and he, having just discovered he had powers, tried using them to save her life, unsuccessfully. As he was about to rescue Anya, KGB soldiers arrived and detained him. Witnessing his daughter die right in front of him, he lashed out and used his powers to kill half of the city's population in one blow. Magda got scared of her own husband and fled, unaware she was pregnant with twins Wanda and Pietro Maximoff. We'll circle back to them later in the video. Left alone in the Soviet Union, he decided to change his name to Eric Lehnsherr and erase his past as Max Eisenhardt, as shown in X-Men Volume 2, number 72, 1997. It was around this time that Magneto and Charles Xavier first met. A friendship sparked between them, but they also immediately disagreed on whether humans and mutants can coexist. However, what many fans don't realize is that Magneto would actually spend years trying to use his powers for good, before he re-emerged with a new look and evil goals. X-Men number 4-5, 1964, shows how Magneto rose to prominence as a mutant leader and the self-proclaimed savior of mutant kind. He assembled the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, who used Island M and the Asteroid M orbital space station as headquarters. The Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver have both made their Marvel debuts as members of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. They did not know Magneto was their father at first, which is a detail that has also been retconned out of their stories sometimes. But let's focus on how Magneto was acting at the time for now. Although Magneto wore a metal helmet to prevent telepathic mind control, he remained unaware of the negative effect his own powers had on his mental stability. X-Men number 104 in 1977 showed that the more Magneto abused his powers, the more emotionally unstable he would become. This heavily contributed to the escalation of the mutant wars, as Professor Xavier assembled the X-Men to stop Magneto and the Brotherhood's acts of terrorism. But at the same time, Magneto would sometimes become an ally to the X-Men if the situation called for it, showing that his morals were adaptable in favor of self-preservation. For example, he once helped the X-Men rescue a kidnapped Kitty Pryde in X-Men Marvel graphic novel number 5, 1982. However, Magneto and Professor X's ideological differences would always come back up and drive the duo further apart eventually. In practice, this meant that readers could never tell whether Magneto would remain a villain or become a good guy at some point, once Xavier finally convinced him to be an X-Men. One of these stories where Magneto's place is kind of ambiguous is Secret Wars. Magneto was among the characters who were randomly teleported to Battleworld and thrown into a war for survival by the Beyonder in the 1984 event. In Battleworld, he was seen as a villain by the heroes, but also as an enemy to other villains. During the series, Magneto had explosive encounters with both heroes, like the Wasp, and villains like Galactus, and ended up realizing mutants and humans have more in common than he previously realized. After that, he started to show signs of a future redemption. With the return of the Beyonder, Magneto temporarily joined the X-Men to stand up with the team against his threat in Uncanny X-Men number 202, 1985. Always a leader, Magneto eventually gathered a new group of followers called the Acolytes in X-Men Volume 2, number 1, 1991. They viewed him as a messiah for mutant kind. This era saw Magneto constantly clashing with the X-Men again, but also dealing with internal betrayals. Now with an army of acolytes, Magneto resumed his acts of terrorism, and the Magneto War storyline began in X-Men Magneto War number 1, 1999. This event sees Magneto reclaiming his role as a major mutant leader. In response to anti-mutant policies, he demands sovereignty, and is granted leadership over the mutant-populated nation of Genosha. He tries to build a mutant utopia, but he is authoritarian, and that leads to the People's Revolt. Still, Magneto might have been able to keep ruling Genosha, much like Doom rules Latveria. But a massive attack ended his reign in what became known as the E is for Extinction event. Magneto's ruling over Genosha is cut short when Sentinels, under orders from Cassandra Nova, launch an attack that kills 16 million mutants, and it seemed like Magneto died as well. He is believed to be dead for a while, but he eventually returns in the House of M event. In this storyline, the Scarlet Witch alters reality, making mutants the dominant species. Magneto is the supreme ruler in that reality. However, once the old reality is restored, Wanda utters, "No more mutants," stripping most of the mutant population of their powers, including Magneto, although only temporarily. This leaves mutants nearly extinct, leading to years of struggle for their survival. After losing his powers following House of M, Magneto went through several phases before regaining them and his influence. To mention a few, he becomes involved with a mad scientist known as the High Evolutionary, joins the X-Men on Utopia, and finally gets his full powers back through the Phoenix Force during the Avengers vs. X-Men event. In more recent years, Magneto evolved into a more of an anti-hero persona. He distanced himself from terrorism and leadership positions in general, living a long solo era. He remained a protector of mutants, and Professor X continued trying to convince Magneto to join the X-Men. When Professor X and Moira McTaggart secretly planned to build the mutant nation of Krakoa in the House of X event, they sought out Magneto as one of their earliest allies. Magneto formed an alliance with Professor X and became one of Krakoa's leaders. During the AXE Judgment Day and Destiny of X events, Magneto was a member of the Great Ring of Arakko, a team that protected the planet Arakko. His ultimate redemption came when he sacrificed his own life to save innocent people. Following the terraforming of Mars into planet Arakko, Magneto relocated there to assist in establishing a mutant society. But when the Eternal Uranos attacked the planet, the battle led to the unexpected death of Magneto in X-Men Red Volume 2, Number 7, 2022. Magneto was brought back to life through extraordinary means amidst the fall of the House of X storyline, during which the mutant nation of Krakoa fell. After his resurrection, Magneto experienced resurrection-linked degenerative sickness, a condition affecting mutants brought back to life via the resurrection protocols. This made him unable to use his powers. Further establishing himself as an anti-hero, Magneto rejoined the X-Men in their latest comics. In X-Men, Volume 7, Number 1, 2024, Magneto lives in the Factory, the current X-Men mansion. Magneto is a highly intelligent and cunning man whose magnetic powers have been retconned, tweaked, and stripped from him a few times in comics. For instance, Magneto's powers initially included manipulating the magnetic field around things to control them. This theory was later retconned as his power to control the iron in people's blood, and later retconned back as field manipulation. To make things more simple, let's list all the main abilities Magneto has shown. So his main power is called magnetokinesis, or the control of magnetism. Scientifically speaking, Magneto's powers don't really make much sense, but this is fiction, so let's keep an open mind. In consequence of being able to control magnetism, Magneto can also manipulate metal objects of various sizes, from small bullets to massive structures like satellites, for example. He can manipulate magnetic substances like iron, cobalt, nickel, and other metal alloys containing these metals. Since he's incredibly intelligent, he can also create complex machinery by reassembling metal parts quickly and effectively. But his most impressive feat is likely ripping out Wolverine's adamantium skeleton from his body in X-Men number 25, 1993. Magneto can influence the entire electromagnetic spectrum, including absorbing and redirecting electrical currents to use them as weapons. He can bend light to create invisibility or interfere with communication signals. He can even absorb electromagnetism. He has absorbed lightning, plasma, and various forms of energy to power himself up. By manipulating magnetic fields around himself, Magneto can also fly. He can not only levitate and move around at high speeds, but also make other objects and people levitate or fly as well. He can create protective force fields using magnetic energy to shield himself and others from harm. His energy shields can withstand nuclear explosions and cosmic threats, and even expand to protect entire cities. Since the Earth itself has its own magnetism, Magneto can sense disturbances in the planet's magnetosphere, detect movements of metal underground, and even cause earthquakes by messing with the planet's tectonic plates. Since blood contains iron, Magneto can control its movement, potentially paralyzing enemies. He has used this power to enhance his own healing by stimulating his blood cells. As you can probably already tell, Magneto's role in X-Men movies is very similar to his Marvel Comics counterpart story. Magneto has been a central figure in the X-Men film series, portrayed by Ian McKellen and Michael Fassbender. His journey spans multiple timelines, exploring themes of friendship, betrayal, and his views on the relationship between humans and mutants. Before Ian McKellen was cast as Magneto in the 2000 film X-Men, and Magneto is widely considered one of the actor's most iconic performances. In the prequel series, James McAvoy was cast as Charles Xavier before other actors auditioned for Magneto. After pairing McAvoy with Michael Fassbender, it was reported that their undeniable on-screen chemistry secured Fassbender's role as the young Magneto. McKellen first appeared as Eric Lensher, a Holocaust survivor whose traumatic past fuels his belief that mutants must dominate humans to ensure their survival. But in X2, Magneto temporarily allies with the X-Men to combat a common threat, evoking the complex morality we've mentioned when discussing his role in the comics. In X-Men: The Last Stand, Magneto leads a resistance against a cure for mutation, highlighting the reasoning behind his extreme views. McKellen then reprised his role in the Wolverine's post-credit scene, hinting at future conflicts, and his final appearance was in X-Men Days of Future Past in 2014, where he collaborates with Professor X to alter a dystopian future, in a plot that connects the original trilogy to the prequels. Michael Fassbender debuted as the younger Eric Lensher in X-Men First Class in 2011, depicting Magneto's contradictory transformation from a Nazi hunter into a terrorist leader advocating for mutant supremacy. Fassbender also appears in X-Men Days of Future Past, where his radicalism leads him to attempt to assassinate President Nixon, and X-Men Apocalypse, in which the character oscillates between villain and anti-hero. Fassbender's final portrayal came in X-Men Dark Phoenix, where Magneto leads Genosha and deals with the dangerous transformation of Jean Grey. Throughout the X-Men films, Magneto's character arc is marked by his deep friendship and ideological conflict with Charles Xavier. Their relationship serves as the emotional core of the entire series, and Magneto's actions, driven by personal trauma, challenge audiences to consider the fine line between heroism and villainy. Doomsday will be the first part of the Secret Wars event in the MCU, just like Endgame was the title given to the second part of Infinity War, but they are the same event. So seeing Ian McKellen and other X-Men actors cast in Doomsday raises the questions, will Magneto also be in Avengers Secret Wars? Will the MCU's Secret Wars be based on both the 1984 and the 2015 event? Magneto appears in both, but only in tie-ins for the 2015 event in Magneto Volume 3, number 18 to number 21, 2015, which means he has a much smaller role in comparison. Since we can only speculate for now, we want to hear from you. How do you think Avengers Doomsday will use the X-Men characters? Let us know in the comments below, and remember to subscribe. Until next time, thanks for watching CBR.